an equity pledge earlier this year aimed at developing and growing opportunities for small and diverse businesses to succeed, build wealth, and expand. In support of this pledge and mission, the Equity Inclusion Division has hosted and promoted several training opportunities to help businesses make connections with our agency and other key decision makers. Throughout the year, DDOT will be working with resource partners such as the Office of Contract and Procurement, the Office of the Chief Financial Officer, to host additional workshops that provide you with the opportunity to connect with our DBE program team. Some upcoming events include our DBE virtual office hours on August 7th of 2023, Understanding Joint Ventures to Grow Your Business, which will occur in September of 23, and How to Develop Your Business Plan to Obtain Bank Funding, that will be hosted in October of 2023. Before I wrap up, I would like to announce our annual DBE Summit and Networking event, which will take place on Friday, November 3rd at Gallaudet University. Please make sure to mark your calendars and to look for additional information in the coming months. I also want to make sure that I thank Andrea Jackson, who is our Deputy Compliance Officer, along with her team, Troy Parham, Viola Ayers, Damian Mayo, Stephanie Jenkins, and we also have contractors that support these efforts as well. As I say, we're small but mighty, but we are very mighty. And so without Andrea, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you so much. Now, I would like to introduce Andrea Jackson, who serves as our Deputy Compliance Officer, and I will turn the video over to her. Andrea, take it away.
You're muted, Andrea.
All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Nana, for your kind words and for your support, for making sure that we have the resources and the tools to bring to our DBE, diverse businesses and small businesses, to be able to conduct these events to help them grow their businesses. What I want to just share is just the purpose. And the purpose of this event is to provide participants with information and resources aimed at helping you to successfully navigate the federal requirements on federal aid highway construction projects and to become familiar with DDOT procurement, DBE contractor compliance, and OJT requirements when becoming a prime contractor. So with that, I will also just give you some, just a little bit about our agenda. If you can share the agenda on the screen. So today we will cover moving from subcontractor to prime contractor. That will actually be, the instructor for that is Benita Scott, who is a Deputy Chief Contracting Officer with our Office of Contracting and Procurements. Make sure you listen attentively. At the end of each presentation, you will be able to ask questions, or you can also drop some of your questions in our Q&A. So I'm just going to go over some general instructions on how you can navigate the platform and make sure that you are engaging with the presenters, and also to make sure that you're able to get your questions in. So when you're using WebEx, everyone is already on mute, so that we can make sure that the presenters are able to get through their training, and also we can mute the background noise. However, you do have the raise hand feature, and the raise hand should be at the bottom of the screen. If you look at there where it says unmute, you see a little hand there. So you should be able to raise your hand and ask a question. There is closed captioning. Unfortunately, we don't have an ASL interpreter. However, if you look in the bottom of your screen to your bottom left, you'll see the CC there. If you would like, so each person has the ability to turn on the closed caption option. If you're using the WebEx mobile application, click the three dots icon and then scroll down and select the closed caption option. And then you make sure that the toggle switch is blue, so that will ensure that everybody have access to the content that's being covered today. Your video is off by default, so you will not be able to share your video today. All right, again, you can virtually raise your hand and ask a question, or if you cannot find a feature, you can press Control, Shift, and R, and that will allow you to raise your hand. Now, your panel members have the ability to mute and unmute you. So again, you can raise your hand if you need to. If you dialed in by phone, use the *3 to raise your hand, and we can actually see on our end if you have your hand raised. So again, if you're dialing in by phone, use *3 to use the raise your hand function. All right, questions. How can I ask a question? If you have a question, to send a question, use the 3 dots icon, which is at the bottom right side of your screen, and then select Q&A. A new panel will appear, and in the Ask field, select All Panelists. Then you can click the text box and type your question in and press the Enter key. Make sure you press your Enter key so that we can receive your question on this side. If you have joined us via a browser or your mobile app, click the Q&A or question mark icon to access the Q&A to ask a question. Again, if you join us by browser or mobile app, you click the Q&A or question mark icon to access that function. And again, if you're dialing in by phone, you can use the *3 to use your raise your hand function, and that will allow us to speak and to get your question. Okay. All right, so those are our little housekeeping tips. You'll find too at the end of this presentation that when the presentations are over and when the sessions are over, we need you to respond to a survey. And I'll go over this again at the end. There's going to be a survey. So if you log out early or if you need to leave, when you close out, it'll redirect you to our survey that we need for you to respond to. So you'll be able to give us feedback on how we did today. All right, so we will get into our presentations. Again, the way the agenda is set up, we have 3 presentations. We have one from Benita Scott, who is our Deputy Chief Procurement Officer in the Office of Contracting and Procurement. She will provide you with our first presentation, and then we will have, and that she's going to just walk you through how to move from being a subcontractor to a prime contractor. And then after Benita, we have Damian Mayo, who many of you may know. He's our Federal Compliance Officer here at DDOT. He's going to give you from a prime perspective on understanding your requirements as it relates to the federal DBE contractor program. So again, you know, we're talking about becoming prime. So we're coming from the perspective of once you're prime, these are some of the issues that you would need to understand. And then finally, we'll have Troy Parham, who is our DBE OJT Supportive Services Manager, and you may know him as well. And he's going to walk you through the federal OJT requirements as a prime contractor that you may be subjected to. And after that, again, Q&A. Again, if you have questions, you are free to put them in a chat or Q&A section. Raise your hand, and then we'll also have a Q&A at the end of this session. And then we'll close in remarks, and then again, your evaluation form. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our workshop, our first presenter for today's workshop, Benita Scott. Benita Scott is our Deputy Chief Contracting Officer with the with the Office of Contracting and Procurement. She has over 25 years of professional experience in contracting and procurement. She is a dedicated public servant with a distinguished career serving in the OCP, as we call it, for the District of Columbia, and she represents the District Department of Transportation. Over the course of her career, she's held various leadership positions while working at the Graduate School USA as a Director of Contracting and Procurement, in the state of Maryland as the Director of Operational Effectiveness and Director of Contracting and procurement. She's also had a tenure at the University of Maryland College Park, where she led a team of contracting professionals. Since 2014, Ms. Scott has also served as an adjunct faculty member at Prince George's Community College. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from Howard University and an MBA from the University of Maryland Global University. So I would like to bring to you please welcome her with a warm welcome, Benita Scott. Benita.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Those were very kind words. I'd like to say first of all, I'm very excited to be here. I think this is the most important initiative that DDOT is putting together. And any time that I can add value to a conversation or a particular situation is a good day. And today is a good day. As my bio states, I am a public servant. Served the district and in other capacities throughout the state of Maryland. And I believe in paying it forward and creating a path for business owners like yourself to get to that end result, which is success. And of course, being a prime contractor. I do work for the Office of Contracting and Procurement, as we say, OCP, and I represent DDOT. I actually sit in the Office of Transportation. I'm one of the Deputy Chief Contracting Officers. And let me say a bit about, when I say DDOT, I think I'm twofold, DDOT and OCP, but also I manage both federal and local dollars. And so what you'll hear from me today, I think I'm going to consider my piece a little bit of a bonus because I'll add a spin into the mix of things, giving you a bit more information on doing business with the district agencies. I work a lot with CBEs, Certified Business Enterprises. I work a lot with DSLBD. And so I want to, I won't take a deep dive into those areas. We provided information and resources for you. I, of course, will always be a resource. So you can always circle back to me. But I think the information that I'd like to bring today is going to be, again, a bit more a bonus, adding to the great information that you'll hear from the other presenters today. Again, working for OCP. OCP is responsible for managing for 79 district agencies, a budget of $5.7 billion. We here at DDOT, our team manages 2 billion of those 5.7 billion. So we carry a heavy load at DDOT. There are 4 other deputies, and we do have a team of contracting specialists. But I wanted to just say that because, again, we have throughout the district that type of a budget. But here, focused at DDOT, we do the bulk of the heavy lifting, 2.2 billion here, and that number continues to rise and increase. So we're very proud of the work that we do. Some of the easiest ways to move from subcontractor to prime is by gaining experience, doing the work. Thank you. By doing the work. Now, because all of this stuff is probably in my head, I will touch on it. I may not go in exact order, so I will give you a warning up front, but I will touch it. But doing the work, getting the work done, performing at that level first, because first you have to prove yourself at that level to move forward. And so what I want to do is share a couple of avenues today, taking you on that road, how to travel from subcontractor to prime. And so I'm committed to doing what I can to help you all become what you're capable of being. And so let me repeat that again. I'm committed to helping you all become what you're capable of being. And that is a prime contractor. I know some of you are probably right there. I know there are different levels here today. So I hope I'm going to touch on several different layers or areas where people may find themselves today. So hopefully I can reach you all where you are. So let me start with this. what it means, or actually what it takes to become a successful subcontractor. Becoming educated, meeting goals and expectations, performing well, and performing well also leads to past performance. Let me talk a bit about being educated. You can leave that up. Let me talk a bit about being educated. When I think about that, I'm not thinking about going out and getting a PhD. I'm not thinking about or talking about you all as subcontractors and knowing your own craft. I know you know your craft. What I'm really talking about and want to dig down into is knowing the district, knowing the district agencies, or if you're working on the federal side, knowing that client is what I should say, knowing and understanding the clients, understanding their needs. I think that's one of the major things that I see could possibly be lacking from the standpoint of a contracting officer. Dig down into really understanding the district, what we do for the district residents, become educated about the processes, the procedures, the laws, the regulations, work to understand the procurement process. That can be daunting, but you don't have to know it like I do. Know the basics, know the top layers, understand your tax requirements, understand your insurance requirements. Again, there are references and resources attached here. You'll get those, which will lead you into additional information when you talk about tax requirements and having clean hands. In the state of Maryland, we said tax clearance. Same thing, having clean hands. Have you taken care of your obligations to the District of Columbia? Because to do business, you have certain things that you have to also take care of and do. And the district will hold you accountable for doing those things. Some of the other ways to meet goals and expectations, ask questions, attend pre-solicitation conferences. I just talked with a counterpart, or I think it was DC Housing. They had a huge event. This was months ago. Had a huge event. Primes were there. Well, the primes needed subs. The subcontractors were not there. Huge piece of business. The primes showed up. They asked the questions. They received the responses. They received a list of other attendees there, which is another good resource. If you attend these conferences, you know who's there. You know who the players are in the game. So that's huge. And I thought that example, it kind of hurt me a bit, because we work to get you where you need to be. Not that you don't attend conferences, but what I want you to walk away from today is that the information I'm giving, some of it may be a bit basic, but believe it or not, a lot of this information is missed or left out. When we miss or leave out the small steps or the basic steps, and those things are huge, we're leaving out a big chunk of how to successfully deal with or meet the needs of our clients. How to successfully ensure that we are in compliance, or you are in compliance as a subcontractor as you work your way up. And so for me, that was huge to hear that the subcontractors were looking around. They needed people to do lighting or security, to put up cameras, landscaping, or what have you. They weren't present. And so that to me is huge. And I just want you to hear those type things from me, those basic things, the steps I want you to take to ensure that you're doing all of those, because everything matters. It all matters when we're looking at becoming primes and wanting to have others look at us in that light. What I'd like to do, and this screen is just perfect for what I'd like to talk about a bit next here. As a contracting officer, one of the things that I have the program side do for every contract. I have them, and they're supposed to, but I nudge them to do what you see here: contractor performance evaluation. Now I said I'm going to combine performing well and past performance. How better to position yourself to take on the responsibility of becoming a prime than to perform well as a subcontractor? And see, I think I heard somewhere someone say, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, I'm going to tweak that a little bit to say with great reward comes great responsibility. Because getting contracts, we're awarding those. Those are rewards and awards. With great rewards or great awards comes great responsibility. And so I just want to continue to ring those type bells to say, you know, is this something that I'm doing or something that I'm not doing? Well, that's an easy enough thing to do. Let me circle back and make sure that I'm able to check that box. I've done those things. So regarding responsibility or performing well in past performance, and what you see here, we can call this a tidbit, we can call it helpful information, helpful hints, we can call it insider information. I'm okay with whatever we call it, but what it is, I'd like to think that it's going to be of value. And I'm sharing this information because most people don't know we do this, but we do. After a contract, even during a contract, if I detect that something is going on, I'll have them complete this information for me. And as you see, the first section there, and I'm going to touch on a few of these, quality of products and services. How well did the products and services comply with the contract requirements and specifications? How well did they comply? Did you understand the contract? Did you understand the requirements? Again, all of these things are are key. They're vital. Understanding at this level gets you to the next level. Doing things well get you to the next level. How accurate and complete was the required reporting? If reporting was required, in some cases it is. And we rate you, or they rate you, on your performance. There's another section, quality of products and services. We talked about that one. Cost control, timeliness of product services. How well did the contractor deliver the products or services based on the agreed upon timelines? Huge. Everything we do here is time sensitive. I guarantee you everything. There's a timeline, there's a deadline, there are milestones. And we pay very close attention to those because, again, this is all about people, the 3 Ps. Me, I cater to DDOT staff, those people, my clients. So I'm the first leg. I'm that first person catering to the next person who caters to the people of the District of Columbia. And so I look at it and I talk to my team about that all the time. It's all about the people. How well are we serving our clients? So in turn, that allows them to serve the district residents well. But here's that other set, the subcontractors and the primes. We rely on you all to do an excellent job. So again, we're all serving in some capacity to ensure that we've met the needs of DC, whatever those needs are. Again, my specialty, I take care of IT, transit delivery, any types of commodities, goods, and services. That's massive. Goods and services itself, it's massive. And so I wanted you to at least get a snapshot of this because we really do it. It's a real thing. We capture this information and we don't want something like this to come back to harm or bite anyone. We want people to perform well and doing so by, again, becoming educated, understanding the needs of the district, understanding the requirements of the scope of work or the contract, understanding that by asking questions, showing up, being present, attend the webinars, raise your hand. I have a question. I need clarification. There's nothing wrong with that. People who know me know that I'm always asking questions. Another good way is becoming engaged. And I touched a bit on that when I said attend workshops. Become familiar with procurement professionals like myself. become familiar with the program staff. Now I'm as you see, I'm ad-libbing a bit and I'm adding some information in because when things come to me, I just want to make sure that you get it. Connect. Make sure that you make those connections. And when you're at those conferences, webinars, pre-solicitation conferences, that's where you connect with primes. That's where you introduce yourself. And a lot of you all already know the players in the game. Some of you don't. Some are new. Doesn't matter. Introduce yourself. Make it known that you're here to do business. And so those are some of the things I want to make sure that I get across, whether some are newcomers to the game, whether some are veterans right there at the edge of becoming that prime or reaching out to say, yes, I'll call out the next slide when I need that, so that I don't confuse you all as to what I'm speaking of. Make sure that we engage by going to webinars, connecting. Like myself, I like to see people go the extra mile. And if anyone needs assistance from me, I'm always available. Now, it's not like the old school available where you can just walk into a building, into someone's office, but my contact information, you'll have that after this meeting. Anyone knows they can reach out to OCP, to DDOT. They can find the contracting professionals in the building. You can always reach out to me. And again, I always make myself accessible, will help you with anything I possibly can within the legal realm. For contracting officers, we also have to be very sensitive about information. We never talk about open and live solicitations unless it's Q&A time. We'll answer any questions, but guidance. I'll always give you guidance. I'll always point you to the right person or the right area to get what you need. And so again, just talking about being educated, be present, be accounted for, read, search websites. You'll find a wealth of information on the sites, and OCP by itself has probably more information than you can possibly consume. So go the extra mile to understand the needs of the agencies, not just those under OCP. We have 79 agencies, but as you'll see, I have a couple of resources. The district has quite a few other independent agencies. I just mentioned earlier that the Department of Housing, they're not under the authority of OCP, separate independent agency. Those type, DC Public Libraries, DC Public Schools, DC Courts, those are not under the authority of the Office of Contracting and Procurement. They don't follow the PPRA as I am required to do. But again, those are resources. And when I mention these things, again, keep in mind, I'm gonna share some different things with you. When I mention these things, all of this feeds into experience. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to these different agencies, looking at their websites, looking at solicitations that may come up. Show up, find out what's happening. Again, you can get the experience. You can get it anywhere. You can get it with an independent, you can get it with us, you can get it on the federal side. Get the experience, because what you'll see in a lot of solicitations, they ask for years, X number of years of experience. If you don't have it, you don't qualify. And so that's why I'm talking about these things that may seem, well, that's basic. Yeah, but someone may not know it, or someone may not do it. You got to do it. If we ask for 5, 10, 15 years, make sure you have it. If we ask for a certain type of equipment, make sure you have it. Make sure you can get access to it. If I can't get it, can I rent it? Can I lease it? Those type things. These are the things that the primes do. They may not have all of the equipment. They know where to get it. They know how to lease it. So if you can't, I have a solicitation out now, several, for tree services. We have a couple of, and won't say disadvantaged, but smaller companies, CBEs or small business, they want to bid, but do you have the equipment? That's one of the questions I'm trying to hopefully help them. One of the requirements is specific equipment, certain levels of licensed personnel. So I need you to have that. But what I've guided them to, what they didn't get was, I don't need you to own the equipment. I need you to have access to it. So that was a light bulb to them. And we're talking for this, it's roughly $11 million. That to some people are peanuts. I had someone turn down a $40 million procurement because they said it was too small. I guess it was for them. But if you're trying to get there, nothing's too small. So whether you get a chunk of that $11 million pie, the whole $40 million pie, whatever that is, go for it. But make sure you're set up and you're qualified. And if, again, that small business didn't know, well, I can rent that. Yeah, go out and lease it. I just need you to have it. So those type things, when I say I make myself available and accessible, those are the type things that I like to do. Like to guide and tutor, to coach the businesses who may not think they're ready or qualified. I like to get them to where they are in that comfort zone to go to the next level, to go to the next step. And so here, as I said, doing business with the district. A couple of things I've mentioned: attend general vendor workshops. If you go to the OCP website, one of the things you'll find is that we have monthly workshops, and I can't give you the topics. I looked at those, but again, I think they go out through December this year. But those are some ways, again, you can learn how to do business with the district. You can learn who the players are. You can learn and understand what the OCP has instituted, what we call the Procurement Center of Excellence. They give you additional guidance, general information, overview of the process. They talk about and help you with open solicitations, or those solicitations that are public. That's where you'll find a lot of information there. As I mentioned too, meet all of the requirements of doing business. Again, on the OCP website, all of these things are there for you. You'll have that information at the end of this presentation, how to get there. A lot of you may know, some may not. Some may go there and not drill down because there's a lot of information out there. You can find solicitations, contracts, forecasting information, find all of that stuff. You can find where you can do a FOIA request if you need. So all that's out there. You can also, that's also register to do business with the district and e-sourcing to receive notice of open solicitations. Again, OCP website. Again, this is where the PCOE, Procurement Center of Excellence, is key. They can help you with all of these things. I guide people to them all the time. There's a lady there named Bernita Rice, not Benita Scott, but Bernita Rice. She's excellent. I steer them to her all the time. They have questions that are not my cup of tea, not my expertise. I know where to point them. I send them to her, and she's right on it to help people understand what they need to do, because that's what we're here. We're here to do, help you. Because if we don't help you get the business, who's going to do it? Who's going to take care of the residents of the district? So I need you all as subs to get to work your way to where you're in a comfort zone to take all of that business. Talked about registering with the district, becoming a certified business enterprise, get on a DC supply schedule. I'm not going to really touch on those. I understand what the gist of this particular session is about, but there is information I've included because, again, I think all of these things are key and vital to getting experience, and that's what you need. Get experience, do the work, show that you can do the work. And so once you do that, then you climb that ladder. Make sure that, and once you go to the site and you register for notifications, you're going to be prompted all the time. You're going to be prompted about solicitations that are open, things that are coming out. So that feeds into you ensuring on the front end that you've done something right, that you've done everything right. And again, I say these things because I live a lot of this. I struggled with a vendor the other day, a contractor the other day for weeks. We'd actually awarded a contract, but they couldn't get their information in the system. We couldn't even get a purchase order out to them. Register to do business with the district and e-sourcing to receive notifications. Also, it also sets you up so that when they push that button to say that purchase order, that money's ready, it goes directly to you. That purchase order does. But again, I say, and I added some of these things because I live some of these things, helping people understand that we need all of these things done. So to get people registered, again, it was really a responsibility that PCLE should have handled, but instead of pointing them there, I just took that myself because I don't have to always send them. Sometimes, just take care of things yourself instead of pushing people around. And I wanted to really get them moving and started on the contract. So for that particular case, that's what I did. Want to touch a bit more about expectations, performing well. And I did share that information with you, which is key too, that most people have probably most contractors just never knew that we do that performance evaluation. And another thing you need to know about that is if someone does not perform well, we consider that also. So I say these things again so that you all are mindful that we do like to award the contracts, but we also there's an expectation that the product will be delivered, and not just delivered, but delivered on time and in good shape. We expect the services to be provided and performed timely. And so all of these things are considered. So a person like me is looking at those and have the authority to stop if something's awarded, if I know that there have been performance issues. So we capture this information, but that's not the end all. I talk with this program throughout. If there are issues, I don't wait until the end. I need to know right then. I have a couple now that I'm dealing with. $159 million project. Well, I'm dealing with them. I meet with them every Friday outside of what I maybe need to do, but I do because again, I need to guarantee success. And so those are some of the things that I dig down into and I deal with. And I roll my sleeves up to say, okay, let me help out here. Let me take care of this. Let me translate that contract for you so you understand what you should be doing here. Let me keep you on track, because there are a couple of ways we could do that. I could terminate the contract for breach, or I can help you along. I prefer to help you along. Let's get this right. Let's right size it. And so those are some of the things I like to share, because it's not just the performance is falling short. Why is it? I like to dig down and see why is it. Let's not just put an X and cross them off the list. What happened? How can we help them? Let's translate something for them. And so I just want to ensure that everyone is clear about that. You can go to the next slide. Path to success, successfully partnering with primes. There are a couple of ways. Some of you, again, are familiar with teaming agreements, with joint ventures. If you have the expertise, the brain work, the property, the equipment, the money, join together. And that again is where I'm going to keep talking about these things. I'm going to keep talking about being present, showing up, working with and interacting with the primes. That's how you're gonna know people, know the projects. That's the only way you're gonna know, if you have not engaged in that before. And if you're right there, you're right there. Take that leap. If you're not, if you're midway, if you're at the beginning, actually, regardless, beginning, midway, or end, those relationships and partnerships are always key, always vital. We have someone who started out small years ago, and they probably win a large number of our construction contracts. Started out small, stayed with it, made those relationships, the partnerships, so that they could understand what do you need? How can I do this better? understanding if, and another key, understanding if they didn't win a bid. Okay, well, let me ask to be debriefed. Debriefing, you should always ask for one. If you don't win a bid, always ask to be debriefed, because you want to know why I did, where were my strengths and where were my weaknesses? What happened? How can I do this better? And I will only talk about your proposal. I won't talk about anyone else's, but how can we get you there? So build those relationships with me, a contracting officer, with the program side. That way you better understand their needs. You'll understand their pain points. Understand from my perspective what I'm looking for when I'm translating that contract. If you don't understand a term or condition of a contract, that's what I'm there for. So continue to build, increase competitiveness and opportunities, leverage relationships. We've talked about that, access to resources, matchmaking events. All these are ways to build strategic partnerships. I heard mention of matchmaking events coming up for DDOT. OCP has matchmaking events. OCP has events where I think it's DC buys, where the contracting officers will engage with primes, with subs, with anyone coming in with questions, asking about upcoming projects, the process. We're there to help you. So building those strategic relationships, again, anything you can do, ensure that one, I'm present. You're present, you're accounted for, you're heard. And when I say heard, raise your hand and ask a question. Doesn't matter who's listening, who's around, because they probably need the answer too. Raise your hand and ask the question. Make sure again that and also make sure that not only that you go out and you're seen, you're heard, but make sure that you don't walk away without giving out contact information. You want theirs, but you also want to get you want to give your information. So in addition to, and again, in addition to, I want to make this clear, in addition to what we do at OCP, what we're doing for DDOT and at DDOT, go out also to the independents. Become known out there, reach higher, make sure that you know who those players are, because again, they're doing things that I may not be doing or that I may not know of. Now, I knew about that housing event. We had the primes there when the primes were there and the subs were not. That was painful for someone like me, not having a direct connection, but I knew, I personally knew of subs who could have attended and gotten great business. So that's why, again, I say, I'm available. I make myself available. You make yourself available by showing up, being present, talking to people. If you can't show up, send a representative. Send someone. Make sure someone goes to represent your company. Right now, I'm dealing with a husband and wife team, and they have their son working for the summer. Well, he's representing because he's calling me, asking me questions that his mom or dad has said, I need you to ask and find out these answers. And he's doing it. And that's okay. We're okay with that. Because part of my job is I want to see them be successful. So I'm doing everything. I've held up awarding that because I want to ask all the questions. I want to pull that information out of them to say, okay, you can do this because you can go rent that. You can lease that. Okay. I know you don't own it. Go lease it until you get to that point to where you can own it. So these are the things I want people to think about. Just make sure that whatever you do, you stay in the game. You gotta stay in the game. And again, if you don't win that first solicitation, that second or that 10th, okay, well, what about the 12th? What about the 15th time I bid? What did you learn all those other times? That's how you increase competitiveness and opportunity. That's how you know who's out there. That's how you understand how to bid. Writing a proposal is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you learn each time you do, and you learn when you go to be debriefed to ask that contracting officer, what did I do? How can I do something better? And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be upfront and honest because I want you to be successful. And when I say leveraging relationships, first work to build them. We talked about that, but not only work to build them, you have to also manage them. You have to massage and grow them. So that's how you're leveraging those relationships. Don't just give a business card out and hope and pray that they're going to call you. You call them. You keep calling them. Who's the next person in line that I can talk to until I can get to that person? We talked about understanding the needs of the agencies. Talked about understanding the players in the game, understand their positions. When I just talked about maybe not getting to that head person, who's the next person? What are their positions? What are their roles? What do they do? So understand that. Understand. Again, for me as a contracting officer, there are certain things I can do, can say. I know what those are, and I'll make sure that I stay within those boundaries. But again, I am still here to help. So, one of the things when I say takeaways, again, I like to circle back because I think, the way we learn things, we keep talking about them. We may have to talk about them more than once. Learning your ABCs. My grandkids learn them by singing them and saying them over and over again. That's how they learn them. They consume the information. And so, so again, attend the workshops, talk to people, attend conferences, do whatever you need to do to ensure that you get your name out there, that you get your capabilities out there. This is who I am. And the only way you're going to get better is do the work. That's the only way. If you never do the work, you never get the work, you're never going to do better. And so my job is to help you get the work. Not going to give you anything. I know you're earning, and I'll show you how to do that. So we'll work with folks on if I can steer you in the way to doing a better proposal. Those type things. Who are the right contacts? That's what I'm here to do. We can go to the next slide. And I will remind you all again that my information, yes, is a bit of a bonus. I call myself a double agent. Work for OCP representing DDOT. I manage federal and local dollars. So I like to say maybe I shouldn't say double agent because that may mean I'm maybe good and evil, but I have dual roles. And so I do all of those things. One of the other things, market, and brand. Again, some of you all may say, well, I know all about that. I don't need to do that. Or I already do that. Well, I'm here to say, continue doing it. I'm here to say, guess what? This is key. Social media marketing, networking. We talked about being present, being seen, being heard. Market yourself. We talked about those things. When we talk about social media, a person like me, I didn't grow up with social media. Still not the greatest at it. All of my kids are millennials. My oldest is 35, middle one's 33, youngest is 28. All millennials. I have grandkids, a 2-year-old granddaughter who can operate my phone better than I can. Millennials. And I say that to say this. I like to do old school and new marketing. So unless you're a super mega star, you need more than just a social media. Now, I know some of those folks out there, the Kardashians and all those, that's all they need because their face. But some of us need a little bit more. That's why we need to network. That's why we need capability statement. These are old tools, but I think you combine and it's summertime. What better way to get some of these kids, if you have kids, the neighbors, an intern, someone from the camp, help me with my social media marketing. Help me with my website. I guarantee you it's going to be the best thing you've ever seen. These kids, these gamers, I have a 14-year-old grandson who's a gamer. When I saw a report one time, not too long ago, where the traffic controllers, they're looking at the gamers. They're looking at these kids who are gamers because they're quick with their hands. They think quickly. They're strategic. They're focused. Those kids can build you a marketing strategy, I guarantee you. Social media. But when you start talking about capability statement, they're not going to know what you're talking about. They don't care about that because you're talking about paper. We don't do paper. My kids and grandkids tell me all the time, what are you talking about? Paper. Well, I'm telling you, do a piece of paper, a 1-pager capability statement. We'll get in a minute. I'll show you some samples. But I think, again, and coming from a contracting officer who's been around for a minute, if you take the old and the new and you mix them together. Social media, boom, I'm out there. You all know the social media tools. We use them, the Instagrams, the LinkedIns, the Facebooks, several tools out there, several new on the horizon. If we use those, if we continue to network, we all know about networking. Go to these things, go to these workshops, go to these events. Some you may have to, it may cost you $50 or $100. Okay, am I going to get my money's worth? I've gone to several events. Yes, I walk away with my money's worth. Even if I attend one event that's giving me great information, even if I get 2 business cards, it was worth it. So that's why I say, just continue to stay in the game, whatever it takes. Again, I say I have a husband, wife, and son and I know they're just getting in the game from talking to them. I know it. They're fresh, they're new, but they want to do something. They want to be successful, and how can I help them? And so, again, not turning my back, but saying, sir, I need you to go out there and find out how much it's going to cost. It's going to cost you to lease that equipment. Find out and come back and tell me. That's what I need you to do. Meet the requirements. Market yourself. When we talked about all of these events, great way to market yourself. When we talk about being out there on social media, market yourself, but market it in the right way, professional. This is your business. This is your brand. Your brand is you. Your brand is who you are. So always think about those things. And we talked about this in addition to DDOT and OCP. They're outside agencies. And actually, I only have a small list here, but there's a huge list that you'll see as part of the resources that I have. I want you all to not just take a small piece of this presentation, but take all of it. Use everything you're going to get today. Because again, experience and work. That's how you get to the next level. You can't get there without it. Because we're going to ask for it. We're going to ask for the experience, the past experience, past performance. We're going to ask for it. So again, you can go to the next slide. And these are some of the agencies. I didn't mention them all. University of District of Columbia, Child and Family Services Agency, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And again, this is just a small list, but the other page and the longer, I think there are about 3 pages of agencies you'll see. Again, and this is just the district. When you think about the feds, this is a lot of experience you can gain. And I'll tell you, I try to use the information that I know to help others. I work a lot with youth and with kids. I try to tell them these things because when you think about someone my age, when we think about growing up and all the information we wish we had, I wish someone would have told me that or told me this or given me that. I wish. Now, I didn't get it sometimes because they didn't have it. So it trickled down. They didn't have it. No one gave it to them, so they couldn't give it to me. So I think part of my responsibility is to give it to you. Give it to my kids and grandkids. Give it to the youth that I work with. I have to give that information out because if you don't have it, you don't have it. And you don't know it. Knowledge is power. So whether it's a little bit of something, whatever you can get or take away from today, I encourage you to take it away. I encourage you to use it, to put it to the best use possible, because again, everything is key and all the small things matter. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Marketing tools, we talked about some of these websites. Again, this is another way where the millennials, not necessarily, and I talk about millennials because that's what I have, but I also have generation, and I think it's XYZ now. I don't even know what they are now. XYZ, millennials, I'm a boomer. So, but put those kids on the website. I guarantee you, they know all the tools. They know all that stuff. They know that, and they can. It'll probably take them a day to do it. So, summertime, put the kids to it. Capability statement. We'll see that in a minute. Another old school tool, I think is probably still old school, elevator pitch. But if you think about it, and I think the kids, if I talk with them, I say elevator pitch. They don't. What are you talking, Mom? What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Miss Scott? What are you talking about? But they actually use it. They just don't know they do, because these kids, I guarantee you, they know who they are, and they can tell you real quick. So, elevator pitch, another thing. And I always tell people something I heard, and this is another thing I heard. Be ready. If you're ready, you don't have to get ready. That's the elevator pitch. That's where the elevator pitch comes in. Be ready. Always be ready. And that way you don't have to get ready. And I'll share something with you. I started with DDOT back in November, and I was always preparing for a meeting with Director Lott. I said, yeah, one day I will meet him. I need to be ready, because I've come in here. I know DDOT does some heavy lifting. There's some heavy tools, and I'm right in the middle of it. And when that day comes, I just want to be ready. So here, and just so happens, I was downstairs one day, first floor, going out to lunch. There was a training class or something, or a meeting that was ending, and out comes Director Lott. And before he entered into the gates going upstairs, I stopped him. I said, hello, Director Lott, I'm Benita Scott, one of the Deputy Chief Contracting Officers here from OCP, here to serve DDOT, and I'm very excited to do so. I made my way here from the state of Maryland. University of Maryland was my last stop. My expertise is IT, transit delivery. And I know you have a major project, TOPS, that's on the runway. And that, sir, is why I'm here. I'm going to lead that effort. I'm going to bring that across the finish line in time, just as you wanted that to be. Now, when you have an opportunity, I'd love to come up and chat with you a bit about it. I know, we report up to our chief. I'm one of the deputies. And again, my expertise is IT, and that's major. That's one of the top 10 on your watch list. I'm aware of that, sir. And if I was clocking myself, that probably took me 30 seconds, maybe. Well, he was, I didn't rush through it. And he was standing there, and he says, "It's a pleasure to meet you. Glad you're here." Yes, TOPS is one of my top 10 on the watch list. And he then asked me a bit more about my background and experience, but I was ready. Of course, I know about my own background and experience. I was ready to answer questions. Elevator pitch, you pitch yourself, but you're also ready to answer questions. And that was a chance encounter. But an elevator pitch, you're going to use that on the street, on the sidewalk, in McDonald's, at Starbucks, in the hallway, and yes, on the elevator. But you have to be ready with it. So, different type situations, I kind of look ahead and know that I may end up in. I prepare myself. I practice, and I practice some more. I practice, I polish it, and I pitch it. Another set of P's. Practice, polish, pitch. So I do those things. And I set myself apart when I was talking with him. I'm an expert in IT. IT procurement, you don't find many of us. You may have an expert in procurement, an expert in IT, but I'm both. I come here, sir, to serve you and to do this thing right. I know it's been on the runway for 5 years, but sir, give me 6 months and I'll have it done for you. So I seized that opportunity. It was right there. He didn't know me. He had never met me. I knew who he was because in DDOT there, we have the televisions up and I can see what he's doing, making presentations. He's in important meetings. And I made sure that I knew who he was because I knew that one day I was going to run into him. And since then, I've run into him several times and he knows my name. It could be because of the gray hair, but he knows who I am, knows my name. And he knows the projects that I'm working on because I let him know that I'm here as the expert to serve DDOT and I'm going to get the job done. So I already put myself out there. And so that's how, again, when we talk about elevator pitches, we talk about the old, we talk about the new, those are how you use those tools. And you use them and you'll get to a point where you're using them and you're not even thinking about them. You're not even thinking about elevator pitch. Man, I've got to go home. I've got to sit down. I've got to write all the stuff. No, you only have about 30 seconds. What can you say? Now, let's say a minute, up to a minute. What can you squeeze into that time to introduce yourself, to brand yourself, to talk about your expertise? This is what I can do, what I will do. Sir, ma'am, when can I come talk to you about it? Here's my contact information. May I get yours? That's all the time you have. And so I like to always try to be ready. I prepare myself for different situations, and that's how I do it. Just that simple, old-fashioned, old-school elevator pitch. Be ready so that you don't have to get ready. We can go on to the next slide, but as we do that, I also wanted to just kind of we here are some samples, and I'll circle back to one piece I want to talk about branding. Samples of some capability statements. I just Googled these. I thought those were great because they simple, one pager. A lot of people put information on the back of their business card. They have 2 columns, their capabilities. That's fine too. But I also suggest something like this. This is old school. This is paper-based. Put it on your website. You go to an event, have a couple with you. Give it to someone. It doesn't have to be the regular size. Shrink it down, but include this information. Core capabilities. What sets us apart? Snapshot. It gives you have, I think there's a DBE code, bonding or actually certifications on one, other certifications and codes, past performance information, and a snapshot. These are the projects that I've done. Featured clients. That's great information. And of course, about the company. I did the one for construction because we do a lot of construction work there. And just a generic capability statement. These things are key. You got to do them. Have these kids out there. Now they're not going to do this because it's paper-based. They don't want to deal with it. Don't bother the kids with this. Don't do it. Not going to turn out right. Put the kids on the websites and the social media marketing campaigns. I guarantee you. Give them the information that you need to be out there. They'll do it for you. Capability statement. You need to write a one-pager. You can go to the next slide. And so one of the things I want to circle back to before I get here, when I think about marketing, I also fold in branding to that. Because branding really is, it's for me, if I was thinking about myself, it's who I am. But branding is who you and who your business is. That's your personality. How does when I think about branding, how does a brand make me think, make me feel, want to make me buy? Let me give you some good good brands and associated logos. The Golden Arches. That's all we have to say. We know that's McDonald's. Check. That's Nike. All day long, that's Nike. if I look at, well, Apple, what better way to say Apple than an apple? Those are some great ways in how people brand themselves. Shell. We may not think about the Shell gas station. That's an actual Shell. Those are things. What's your logo? That's your brand. Think about those things. What makes you different? What sets you apart? So those are some of the things that I want you to take away. How do I brand myself? How do I market myself? How do I look to others? How do I come across? How can I do things different? How can I do things better? How can I always be ready? Simple things I want you to do. Elevator pitch. Go out in 3 lines. This is who you are. This is what I can do for you. The opening, the essence of it, the conclusion of it, follow up. This is who I am, what I can do. Sir, I'm the best at it. Here's my card. Here's my contact information. And with Director Lott, I knew he was on the 9th floor. Now, technically, I can't get up there unless I go all around and through the mulberry bush. I can go up on the 8th floor, go up the elevator, and walk through. Can't get straight through there. I already knew that. And I made my way up there, introduced myself to Regina. This is who I am. I met Director Lott, and when he has availability, I'd love to chat with him. And so I do those type things. I like to be very personal with folks and let them know in person, this is who I am, this is what I come to do. And so for me, and I want to just share my experiences with you, my background, my knowledge, my many years of doing this with you, the things that I've seen that have worked and things that don't work. And that's why when I walk you through what may seem like a very long path, or what may seem like basic, generic, or elementary type information, it quite possibly could be. But are you doing those things? And are those things effective? I will tell you that they are. And I'm here to tell you that they are because I see them. And you heard me mention some of the contracts I deal with. Massive, $159 million. That's a year. $40 million, $11 million. I have some that are $100,000, $40,000. So I deal with all of these things because I deal with commodities and services. I have IT. I deal with transit, streetcars, circulators, electric buses, those type things. IT, equipment, services, software. I deal with all of those things. We do open streets. I didn't do it, but one of my counterparts did Black Lives Matter Plaza. We do those things. And so I say that to say that you may start small, but the business is out there. And I know sometimes it may seem tough or hard or daunting to get there. And sometimes it is if you don't have help. And I say these things again because in some cases, I've lived what you're doing now. I've seen from several different angles. So I know that all it takes is for someone to help, someone to reach out. If someone gives me a hand, I can do this. I can get to the next step. All I need is that little push. All I need is that guidance. I just need the information. Someone give me the information. Tell me about grants. Tell me about certifications. Tell me about insurance, tax requirements. How do I do this? Where's the website? How do I find solicitations and forecasts and contracts? How do I find that stuff? And so that's what I'd like to think that I can, how I can, that's one of the ways, or some of the ways I can help you. I can always point you in the right direction. Yes, I am very busy, but I find the time to help. And that's why I find myself mentoring and helping youth a lot, because I make time to do those things. And I think this is so important to ensuring that the district residents have what they need. And we do the best that we can by them. And that's why we need you. You can go to the next slide. And so throughout this, my theme has been success. How do I help you? How can I help you be successful? What do you need? What are the tools you need, the resources to be successful? That's all I want. That's what everybody here wants. That's why we do these things. And so hopefully, again, if you take anything away or something away or one thing away that can help you be successful, then again, for me, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. So that's what I wanted to bring today. Hopefully some tools to help you get on that path to becoming a successful prime contractor. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either. You just need the right tools, you need the right guidance. Again, I know some of you are there, some of you are not. And so I wanted to give information that could help any and everybody today. Give tools that could help someone. Let you know, yes, yeah, we're going to hear about DBEs, but there are also CBEs. There's also DSLBD. Find your way to these independent agencies. Get the experience and do the work. Next slide. So these you'll see are some resources coming up. Helpful hints to ensure compliance. Again, compliance is key. You got to be compliant with your taxes. I think if I remember the district, there's a small fee that if you make above a certain amount of money, if you get a certain amount from the district, you're required to pay, I think, a stadium fee or a baseball park fee or something like that. It's maybe $50, $60. Well, you're required to do that. If we're paying millions, well, you might have to pay $50 or $60. Whatever the tax requirements are, ensure you're compliant, because before we can issue a contract, before we can exercise an option on a contract, we go back and we check for clean hands. Again, hands got to be clean. That means you have no obligations to the District of Columbia. Now, there's, I've had cases where someone may owe $100 or what have you, and I can override that if their contract is $7 million. That's a small fee, but I say, now you go back and pay that $100 or what have you, because we're not going to take anything out away from the District of Columbia. You're not going to take anything away from the residents. I don't care if it's $5. If you owe it, pay it. We're going to pay you. So that's what, again, I try to tell folks, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to help you along this journey. But I would be doing a disservice to you if I don't tell you the right way to do things, the right avenues, the right resources. If you owe money, go ahead and pay it. I'm not going to override it. I need you to do that. Then I exercise this option so you can get that other several $1 million out here. Then I'll exercise the option. So those type things. Again, how do I be successful? How can I become successful at this level to get to the next level? Next slide. And I think what we'll see here are some different things. I just talked about that. Certificate of clean hands. This gives you the information. Go right there. Talk to these folks. They're the experts. What do I need to do? If I don't have clean hands, how can I clean them up? What would I need to do? Tell me. Next slide. And this is just a continuation of that. Again, and this is very good information, because I guarantee you, not guarantee you, but it's a fact. You cannot do business if your hands are not clean. And that's anywhere, regardless of what they call it, clean hands, tax clearance, you have to do it. So that, again, essential pieces of information, essential guidance, essential resources. Again, I'm not gonna dance around or sugarcoat, because I can't. Legally, I can't. I need you to do what you need to do, and I'm gonna help you. I will help you by telling you the right thing and right way to do something. And again, I think that's the greatest service. Next slide. And I will say, let me just say, DC supply schedules. All of this on the DC supply schedule. I think, yes, there's 16 categories or schedules. General office supplies, marketing, media, medical supplies, security equipment, security services, temporary services. Go there. Again, this is builds up experience, gets to work. Now, I'm not concerned where you find it at. as long as you do it, because when you come to me, if I have something out there, I guarantee you, years of experience, you have it, you're gonna be looking for it. Next slide. This is GSLBD and business certification information. I'm not the expert here, but we have contact information. I deal a lot with Amelia over there, Rosemary over there. When I have to go to them, sometimes I go. I try to get a waiver. I have solicitations out where there are primes, but there are no subs. I need a waiver because we're required at 250,000 above. I have to dedicate this amount of money, this percentage, 35% to a sub. If we don't have them, I have to get DSLBD to approve a waiver. I have to go through that process. And this is another place where you can also find the prime if you're connected, if you're in that system. That's where the notifications will go out. If there's a sub out there to say, oh, wait a minute, I can do that. Okay, show me how. This is one I'm dealing with now with the gentleman and his wife and son. Go over there and ask these people how to lease this equipment. I don't need you to buy it. Go lease it. Because I want you to be able to do a percentage. If you can't do all of it, you can do a percentage, because guess what? That's 11.5 million out there. And I'm giving out 4 of those contracts. There are going to be 4. You can get 1 because I only have 2 right now. I'd like to give out 2 more if people are qualified. So another way to get the experience, get exposure, find out who the primes are. You'll find out who the primes are. You can go to the next slide. And I will say I'll let you all know, I had all of the stuff written out, but I don't think I followed anything today. But that's okay. I hope I gave you some information, some other helpful websites. OCP.gov. As I mentioned earlier, we're doing 5.7 billion easily annually. Good services construction. 2.2 billion over there with us at DDOT. So, all the information you can find, the Procurement Office Center for Excellence on that website. Find forecasting, contracts, solicitations, all about DC. FOIA requests. A lot of people don't use that, but FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. You can request information for bids and contracts. That's another way to get information. How did these people do that? What did they bid? Let me see their proposal. What was their cost information? Now, some information you can't get if they consider it proprietary. We'll redact that. Our attorneys will. But these are resources. How did they do that? How did they come in with that bid? How did they say they were going to do it? Oh, okay. Maybe I can follow that model. Freedom of information. Next slide. And we talked about mytaxdc.gov. That's where you get your clean hands. DSLBD, I touched on that. And also the DC supply schedule. So all these are resources and tools I want you to use to get that experience and get to the next level. Next one. Thank you. Questions. And I think one of my next slides is going to be a blank slide. I think that's my next. I think I have 2 more slides. Yep, you made it to prime time. Now what? That's really blank. I wanted that to be blank intentionally because 1, the next section is going to talk about that. But 2, this is a challenge to you all. You're going to have my contact information. I'd love to hear from you. How did I get there? Am I there? I'm there. Okay. Can you help me with something now? What? Or I'm there. I've done it. So, well, we're going to open it up for questions now because I may have run over my time, but questions really quickly, or we can do them at the end if I run over a little bit.
We have a few questions and we
Okay.
have about 6 minutes left.
Okay, I've got 6 minutes, not too bad.
Yes. So the first question is from Cindy Correz, and she says, in our elevator pitch, as a woman-owned small business and as a disadvantaged business enterprise, do we bring that pitch beginning, middle, or end?
That you're small, that you're
a small business or a DBE business. Where in the pitch would that fall?
That's who you are. That's the meat of who you are. That's That's when you do that introduction, your company name. Hello, I'm Miss Scott. This is my company. Women owned, small. That's right there. Right, you want to get that out right up front, because now my ears have perked up, because I know. Oh, woman owned. So, oh, we need. Okay, I need that. So that's where you want to go right out front, because again, think about it. You only have. I'll give you 30 seconds. I don't know how long does it take an elevator to get from 1 to 7. I'm on the 7th floor. I don't know how long that takes. Or stand in the line of McDonald's or Starbucks or Chipotle, wherever it is, on the golf course. You're not going to have a lot of time. Weave that in, practice it, continue to practice it and polish it, condense it. You can get that in there, but get it in up front.
Okay, so the next question is, what is OCP's process for determining if an opportunity is a set-aside contract or if it will go full and open competition?
If it will go, now that's quite a process, so we won't cover all that here. But you have my contact information. Under a certain dollar value, let's say 10, I have something for $10,000 or under 10,000. I don't have to do full and open. I can make that determination or decision as a CO. Up to 100, we're going to do an IFB. We're looking for the lowest bid. We don't have an IFB is an invitation for bid. I don't have to do an RFP, which is a request for proposals, where we're going to evaluate. So we're required by law to do those things, but there's certain cases I may use a co-op. I don't necessarily have to do full and open. I can go to GSA, I can do a co-op, I can go to the state of Maryland, to VDOT, for instance. But at a certain level, and remember I said at 250,000, we have to look for subs. If we're giving out 250,000 and above, I have to at least designate 35% to a sub, unless no one is out there. And unfortunately, we've had those cases I'm dealing with, as I mentioned now, and I have to post that to the DSLBD site. I'm required to do that. And they can say, I'll give you a waiver. You're right. There are no subs out there. Move it on. Or they'll say, guess what? There is someone who can do that. I have a case now. I'm looking at 2, but I'll make the final determination. Can they do it or not? One can't, one maybe. The maybe I'm working with. I need to get them because I want them to get a piece of this. So we're required by law. And also, if you look at that CBE, that sheet that we have, that red and white one, that gives you also a lot of information. But at that mark, I'm required by law to do that.
So the next question is, can a CBE SBE firm self-perform to fulfill the 35% goal if they are the prime?
That's a question. That might be one I may have to research and look back into, because I want to say yes, but there's a trick to that. If you are, but you have to be, I think you have to be in that category to fulfill that. But whoever asked that question, I really would like to get the response back to everyone. I'm not sure how I would do that. But also on that sheet, that red and white sheet, CBE, that's a question I'm almost certain is on there, and response is on there.
We can get that back to everyone.
Yep.
When you
and you all will have my contact information for that and anything else you want to ask.
All right, so those are all the questions that I see in the chat. I want to thank Benita Scott for this wonderful presentation. It was extremely informative. You have lots of kudos in the chat, which I sent you. And also, if you're looking to partner, Bill McGee from Sustainable Facility Management Services, they're a woman-owned hub zone 8A and on a GSA schedule. They're looking to partner, team, and subcontract. So that information is in the chat if you are interested. Again, Benita, thank you so much, Ms. Scott, for this informative presentation. I hope that everyone was able to glean from it. If you need to reach out to Ms. Scott, we will definitely have her contact information at the end of this session. So again, thank you, Ms. Scott. And we're going to move on to our next section.
Well,
this
I have
is-
one more slide that I
Oh, you
think I,
do? That's right, you
I
do.
do.
I'm sorry.
this
She
is
do have.
this.
There's one more slide. Go for it.
Listen, I'm aging myself. You all know. You can see this. But this has got to be my favorite quote of all time. As you heard, I work with youth, so I'm into that mentoring and coaching. And it says, you can read it, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. That's the great Michael Jordan. I love him. Again, I've aged myself, but success is the theme here. Don't give up. If you've fallen, get yourself back up, pick the phone up and call me. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Scott, for that wonderful wisdom and that quote. Again, for everyone who is participating, thank you for your participation. Please upload any questions that you have in the chat. If you're calling in, you can hit *3, and that will get you into the chat. All right, so next slide. We are moving into our next session, and this is if you want to be a prime, if you're becoming a prime contractor on the federal side, please understand that there are contractor requirements that you need to comply with. And so if you're a prime, what are these requirements? So I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who is DDOT's Federal Contractor Compliance Officer, DBE Contractor Compliance Officer, Damian Mayo. Damian has over 12 years of experience in government and the private sector. His experience includes working at MH Miles Company, CPA PC. He is an expert in conducting Federal Acquisition Regulations 31 audits. And for those on the call, you know this is the FAR 31 regulation, and AASHTO compliant CPA work and paper reviews. Mr. Mayo is a former United States Naval Aviation Program Manager who led the successful implementation of Lean Six Sigma continuous process improvement across multiple naval commands. He earned the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. Damian has brought his financial expertise to DDOT's DBE program 3 years ago when he joined the agency in 2020. As the Federal Compliance Officer, he ensures adherence to the DBE program federal regulations at the agency. And for those who are not aware of those, that's 26 CFR, 49 CFR Part 26 and 23 CFR. So without further ado, let me introduce to you some and present to others, Mr. Damian Mayo.
Yes. Good morning, Andrea. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. Ms. Benita, thank you for that wonderful introduction that you did. I absolutely loved that quote. And that was a very powerful quote. So today, I'm going to go on this journey with you all of just having a conversation about the compliance aspect of being a prime as it relates to the DBE program. I will be conducting a satellite overview of some of the items. And of course, as always, feel free to contact our team here at DDOT if you have any further questions or need any technical advice. Also, please note that if you have any feedback, questions, or recommendations, please ensure to include those in the chat so that we can provide those for the record to FHWA as we go through a program update so that we can ensure that we have maximum public participation and outreach pertaining to feedback to our partners there at FHWA, as well as some things that we can do internally here at DDOT. So moving into the compliance aspect, the DBE Contractor Compliance Program just ensures that DDOT as an agency is supporting the US DOT's 8 or several objectives of ensuring that there's non-discrimination in the award of contracts for USDOT funded projects here at DDOT to create a level playing field for DBE, for which DBEs can compete fairly on, and another one to help remove barriers to the participation on DOT assisted contracts. Of course, there are other bullet points here that you can review on your own time, and all these are essentially what we strive to achieve each time that we have a contract or engage with the business community as a whole. Next slide, please. So our program is based on a federal regulatory authority that is established by Congress. It has been updated several times. The most recent one is with the bipartisan infrastructure law, the bill, which is a major investment into the American infrastructure, which means there's going to be an influx of opportunities as well as cash flow into the various projects that we will be bringing online, which means there's more contracting opportunities for primes and subcontractors here at DDOT. Next slide, please. The purpose of the program is that the US DOT, in a sense, distributes funds to finance construction projects. So if you go, throughout the city, throughout the District of Columbia, or various jurisdictions or states, you may see sort of a billboard or advertisement sign saying Federal Highway Trust Fund, the amount and that they've contributed, and the amount that's locally funded. The amount that that you see that comes from the federal agencies is what they have provided from the taxpayers' base to fund the contracts. This program has been around since the 80s. Of course, it's been updated, and this program is birthed or is of the spirit of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and other non-discriminatory statutes that apply to financial assistance programs sponsored by the US DOT. Next slide, please. Some of the key objectives, once again, are at our level, the agency is that we are committed to a civil rights program that promotes participation of disadvantaged business enterprises in all of our DDOT contracting opportunities that receive federal funding. And of course, we are to be in compliance with the 49 CFR 26 to ensure that we administer our program in a way that is compliant and that ensures public trust in the way that we do business. And ensuring that we are in compliance in administering the program based on the 8 objectives of the program regulations, such as assisting DBEs from becoming subcontractors to primes, and primes to building their capacity and knocking out some of the barriers that may be faced by DBE primes to reach their goal of growing capacity. And the overall sum to these parts equals generational wealth. So the key objective and the goal of this program is to establish generational wealth, right? That's one of the main talking points, one of the main cornerstones of this bill. The bipartisan infrastructure law is to establish generational wealth. And that is the, I don't want to say angle, because it's really not an angle, but the nature of the program is to help build generational wealth, to build subcontractors into primes, to build primes into larger businesses, et cetera, and to pass this down generationally, because we know the key to the American dream is to being able to start a business. Of course, the cornerstone of American economy is small businesses, DBEs, and we want to ensure that we support those small businesses and ensure a proper way to achieve the American dream and to achieve and pass along generational wealth. Next slide, please. So some of the program requirements per 49 CFR Part 26 that I will be touching on, and of course, as you come in, continue to come on board with DDOT to win contracts or do business within different, with other states, et cetera. Some of these program requirements are something that you should be familiar with, something that you should have down packed, and should know front and back, and ensure that you establish the course of your business, the way that you do business on the program requirements. Of course, I absolutely recommend that you read 49 CFR Part 26 in its entirety to understand the theory and understand how the program is in a sense handled, the way the practical side of the program. So it has a theory and the practical side and how all this works together to ensure that this program is successful. This is a partnership between the federal government, the District of Columbia, and you as the business community. We are all in partnership, and this helps to ensure that as partners, we are all bringing and ensuring that we're playing by the rules and bringing something to the table. My goal and my job here is to ensure that whenever the prime or the subcontractor is awarded a contract or awarded a subcontracting opportunity, that you achieve your goal, right? I'm here to help achieve your goal. I'm here to coach, I'm available, I'm here to provide technical assistance, et cetera. So some of these program requirements that are these are some key program requirements or prompt payment, right? So the prompt payment, this covers the cash flow aspect. So at a high level overview, whenever a prime, right, as a prime, whenever you complete paving a sidewalk, streetscape, whatever your RFP or whatever your contract may be, whenever you complete a certain scope or bill or submit an invoice, us as DDOT, we have 30 days upon the approval of the invoice to pay you as your prime. Now, as a prime, you will have your subcontracting team, whether they're a DBE or non-DBE. As a prime, once you receive your payment, you have 7 days to pay your subs. And then, of course, if the subs have tiered subs below them or subcontractors up on their team, they have 7 days as well. So it's 30 days from the agency to the prime, and for the prime to the subcontractors, 7 days for the subs to their tiered subcontractors, 7 days as well, right? The next one is good faith efforts, which can be found in 26.53. Now, the good faith efforts relates to, as a prime, you receive a contract award from OCP. Well, in this particular contract award, you may have a DBE goal, since it's federally funded project, you'll have a DBE goal, let's say, for example, of 10%. Well, the good faith efforts as a prime is that you have to achieve that 10% DBE goal, which represents that a portion of that contract award amount, 10% of that is to go to the subcontractors. So as a good faith effort, you have to put good faith efforts such as soliciting small businesses, putting ads out, marketing campaigns, et cetera. And it goes further into detail of what the good faith efforts are. Also, if you come across a particular situation where you may not be able to achieve the DBE goal on the project for various business concerns, maybe a scope was reduced or a capacity or an emergency capacity item came up, et cetera. If you're unable to achieve your 10%, the good faith effort requirement would have you demonstrate that you did have a good faith effort. So you did reach out to subs, you alerted the project team, et cetera. And of course, it'll be all outlined. And if you need further guidance, I'm always here to assist with that. Another point is reporting and monitoring in the DDOT Civil Rights Compliance System. And when we say reporting and monitoring, this is tied directly back into prompt payment, which is reporting of your payments, monitoring of your subs payments, and monitoring of you as a prime, your progression towards your DBE goal on the project. This is a web-based system. It is hosted by B2G Now. Once again, it's web-based, cloud-based. You can access it via mobile, laptop, PC, et cetera. And just a couple other ones that, just to briefly touch on, contracting, subcontracting goals, those relate to the DBE goal being set on the project. A CUF review, those are commercially useful function reviews. These type of reviews are done once per DBE on the project, and it just assures or attests to the fact that a DBE is performing their own work or performing their scope of work with their own workforce. And it's a whole review, and it's only done once. And of course, the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Utilization Form, that'll be part of your bid document. This is your game plan as a prime, saying, okay, I understand I have a 10% goal on my awarded project. And these are the subs, my DBE sub team. This is my DBE sub team that I tend to use to achieve my 10% on the goal. Or this is another way of demonstrating your good faith efforts from the start of the of your bid. Next project, please. Next slide, please. So some program components and processes. Of course, first, the eligibility criteria is that you have to be a DBE, meaning that you have to have successfully have become a DBE through the DBE certification process. The other component is the contracting and subcontracting goals, which directly ties into the DBE goal, which all federal aid projects or federal aid funded projects will be reviewed by my office to see if a DBE goal is to be placed on the contract or the project. And if there's a DBE goal on the project, then that is to be achieved by the prime, which falls under the contracting and subcontracting goals. And then monitoring and reporting, of course, monitoring for your prompt payments, monitoring the proper contact information, record keeping, et cetera, and reporting. There's reporting that, hey, I've been promptly paid, or hey, I haven't received my check in a prompt manner. There's something going on. This is impacting my cash flow. And this is all a very seamless process and very streamlined process. And I absolutely encourage anyone, if they need any assistance or need any want any information, to contact our team. Have that conversation before you get your award. Have that conversation as a sub. Even have that conversation with it as a prime to get that additional technical guidance, to be up to date on the most recent regulations, or just reach out saying, hey, I just want to ensure that my DB utilization plan looks good, or I have a question about this program regulation. Have that conversation with us. We are here to help build capacity, build the knowledge base, and build opportunities for other folks, reach back, right? For other folks within the business community, all to assist with building generational wealth. Next slide, please. As a prime contractor, some of your responsibilities and expectations, you'll be, the expectation or your role would be to achieve the DBE goal on the project that you may have, whether it's highway construction, design, et cetera. The DBE goal requirements are incorporated in the agency solicitations, meaning in your contract documents. So be very well versed in your contract requirements. The guidance is there. If you need any assistance, reach out to Ms. Benita, reach out to myself, Andrea, our team, whomever. We'll be able to explain any of those requirements within your contract, but be very familiar with the program regulations as they are outlined in your contract. Pre-construction meetings, always attend your pre-construction meeting, always ask questions, always ensure that you understand what is required from the beginning to the end, pretty much the cradle to the grave of your project. Be in the know, right? It makes it a completely smooth process. Let's see, what else? The Civil Rights Office, we work with the primes. We work with the primes to ensure that they understand the DBE goal requirements that are established for the project. So it's a collaborative team effort. Next slide, please. So how does DBE Contractor Compliance Program impact your business? Well, for one, you get access to new opportunities. As a prime, you get access to greater opportunities. As a subcontractor, you get opportunities to build your capacity, gain that skill, gain the intelligence, gain the business networking with the primes. Also, promoting diversity and inclusion on the projects, and skill and capacity building. And all these tie in to our daily drivers of how we administer this program. Next slide, please. So some of the applicable program documents, and these documents will be provided at the end in the chat, as well as some of these documents are also available in your bid documents. You can go onto our DBE website and even just Google some of the forms, and you can find the forms for DDOT, different agencies, even the generic forms, just to become familiar with them and the different aspects of these, such as the FHWA 1391. Currently, we're in the time for those 1391 reports to be generated in July, second week of, or the ending week of the work period for July. These are when these reports start coming in line. It's a workforce report. Become familiar with that. So when the deadline comes about in September, you can say, hey, I've already had my information in, and that's another check in the block being compliant and ensuring that you are aware and in the know of the different requirements as being a prime on these projects, or even as a subcontractor. Next slide, please. And the educational resources are here on the slide. The d.dc.gov, that's our agency's DBE website. That's where you can find different information from our DBE methodology report, to information to projects that are coming online. The 49 CFR Part 26, that's our program regulation. That's pretty much the playbook that I go by. The DDOT compliance system, that's the DDOT DBE system. If you have work currently, or if you're looking to gather training to become familiar, because you may be about to be awarded a contract with DDOT that has DBE requirements on it, become familiar. It has a plethora of free training, and it's web-based. You can do it anywhere on the road, wherever you're on travel, or even at the comfort of your home. And then the final one is FHWA, which is the USDOT's FHWA's agency. This is their program administration website that gives plenty of guidance, documentation, report templates, etc. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is my contact information. My name, once again, is Damian R. Mayo. You can reach me at my office number here, as well as my email. My deputy compliance officer is Andrea Jackson. This is her number here, as well as her email address. Always feel free to reach out to us with any questions. If you're awarded a contract, reach out to us, be proactive. We're always here. I'm always here to serve. It's an honor to serve, and I am, thank you, appreciative of your time and your attention, because that's the most valuable thing. And as always, we are here to assist the public in achieving their goals. And I am done with that. And if you have any questions, please list them in the chat, and we will try to address those questions as they come through. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much, Damian. We have about 8 minutes left in this training, and we may go a little bit over time. So for those of you who are interested in the information, you may stay. In terms of the questions, we'll get to the questions after Mr. Parham provides you with the on-the-job training aspect if you are to become a prime contractor. And, you know, we do have several other requirements. And as a subcontractor, some of you may be familiar with this. We do have an on-the-job training program where the agency places disadvantaged residents on construction projects through our prime and our subcontractors. So Troy will give you an overview of that information, and then we can take questions after that. But again, thank you to Damian. Damian is one of the compliance officers who serves under me, and I so appreciate his expertise. Please make sure that you reach out to him if you have questions, or you can reach out to me. So very briefly, I want to introduce my next speaker, Troy Parham. Mr. Troy Parham is the program manager for our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise and the on-the-job training program, and also our supportive services program. He joined DDOT in October of 2020. He is responsible for ensuring that we have on-the-job training placements, our on-the-job training pre-employment program, and he is responsible for our Disadvantaged Business Enterprise trainings such as this one. He's on the back end putting these together. He has over 20 years of expertise in designing DBE and OJT programs. And prior to joining DDOT, Troy worked for the Maryland Department of Transportation in their civil rights program. and developing workforce initiatives. His experience include contractor compliance, Title VI and Title VII civil rights program. So I will now like to present to you Mr. Troy Parham.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andrea, for that great introduction. Next slide. Just want to share some brief information with you about the OJT program as it relates to federal projects and assuming your role as a prime contractor. So you've made it up to the big boys and you're going to get started. So what are the things that may impact you as a prime contractor working on DDOT projects? Mr. Mayo is also responsible for setting our DBE goals on the project. I'm responsible for setting our training requirements on our federally assisted projects. Of all the different federal agencies, the Federal Highway Administration is the main agency that enforces the OJT program. So with that said, the OJT program is a federally mandated affirmative action program. It was established under USDOT Federal Highway Administration Regulation 23 CFR Part 230.111. The program is enforced by the Federal Highway Administration through transportation agencies such as DDOT. For each state, they have a DOT that enforces this program. The main purpose of this program is to address historical underrepresentation of target populations. Those target populations consist of minorities, women, and disadvantaged individuals within the highway construction industry. Next slide. And just to kind of, as a disclaimer, for any of the information I share today, if we don't get to everything, you can reach out to me at the end of the slide presentation. All of our contract information is there for you. All right. The purpose of the program is to ensure that a competent workforce is available to meet the current and future highway construction needs. You hear it in the news every day. With this bilateral infrastructure money that we have received, there's a lot of money and a lot of projects that need to get done. However, we don't have enough qualified or skilled people to do that training. So there's a big effort under the USDOT Federal Highway Administration to build up a competent and skilled highway construction workforce. That's our role working with DDOT. So DDOT establishes training program requirements on our federally assisted highway construction projects. The goal is to provide skill training, knowledge, and experience based on the type of project that we're constructing. So if we're constructing a bridge project, we're going to be looking for bridge or general laborers. We're going to be looking for people that may do iron work if it's a steel bridge. If we're doing a roadway project, we're going to be looking to put individuals that are skilled or teach them skills in asphalt laying or milling and resurfacing of our roadways. Those type of programs, that are more aligned with the type of work that's being done. How do we get this done? We can't do it ourselves. We don't have the workforce. So DDOT works through its contractors to provide hands-on training, which assists trainees in successfully advancing from an entry level to a journey person level in a particular highway trade. Next slide. And I may skip through some of these. The main objective of our OJT program is to recruit, train, and provide underrepresented populations with employment readiness training, which leads to job retention and long-term employment within the highway construction industry. It's a training commitment and means that even though this is the focus of our program, the program does not discriminate against individuals who may not belong to a particular minority group. But the main primary objective is to recruit these populations because traditionally they were left out of the highway training and construction process. The ultimate goal basically is to level the playing field and increase the utilization of target or underrepresented populations in all phases of highway construction on our federally assisted projects. Next slide. All right, these are just some of the main regulations that enforce the OJT program. Title VI is an applicable regulation simply because as an agency, we receive federal money. So Title VI of the Civil Rights Act is the main driver. The OJT program specifically, like I said earlier, is administered by the Federal Highway Administration. So their particular regulation, just to repeat, is 23 CFR Part 230.111. If you want to do additional research and find out all of the requirements that are under that regulation. Then we have OJT Supportive Services, which is a precursor to our formal OJT program. There's money that we set aside to establish pre-training to get individuals with no skill training and elevate them to the level so that they can perform in our formal OJT program. Next slide. All right, some of the program requirements. If you're a prime contractor, you're working on one of these projects, it's your responsibility, if it's a project that has OJT goals on them, and most of them do, to go out and recruit the applicants to fill those OJT slots. Some of the requirements that we look for is that the applicants must be at least age 18 years of older. They must be in good health and able to pass a drug test. I know in the District of Columbia, marijuana is legal, and that sometimes provides a challenge for us when we're seeking applicants, because on our federal projects, marijuana is not a legally authorized substance. So it creates a challenge for us. You cannot be a college student on a seasonal break, just using this for a summer job. And you must be placed in a position that permits you to move up and elevate your skill level. All right, next slide. This is just a list of, we have over 42 FHWA pre-approved OJT programs that we try to enroll our candidates in. And if you want to get information, if you're awarded a federal project and you want to know where to find this training information, primarily it's located in section H.4 of our executed contract documents. I've also provided the OJT manual, which goes into more detail about what the skills are that are required for each of these training programs. We're going to provide that in the chat at the end of the training. Next slide. All right, as a prime contractor, and congratulations, you moved up to that level. These are just some of the primary responsibilities that you need to be aware of when you're working on a DDOT federal aid project. You must attend pre-construction and regular progress meetings. This is where we provide the information on, we inform the project team as well as the contractors on what the OJT training requirements are and what their responsibilities are for the prime contractor and the project team, and training individuals and monitoring them. Item number 2 I spoke about earlier is the prime contractor's responsibility to recruit candidates to fill those vacant slots. The prime contractor can also use a subcontractor that may be performing work that's similar to the OJT positions that is established on the project. All right, on item number 3, this helps the contractor to meet their EEO and affirmative action obligations. Again, the contractor, you can use either a recognized apprenticeship program or one of our pre-selected OJT programs. You can recruit from your workforce, work with a local government agency, or consult with DDOT staff, and we may make recommendations for you. And just say that your trainee, you submit the application, I approve it, then I'm going to submit a approved copy back to you. And your responsibility at that point is to orientate the trainee at the project site and assign them a qualified supervisor or trainer who can provide the skill training that they need. Next slide. All right, just to kind of go some of the important things. As a trainee starts on the job, the prime contract is your responsibility to ensure that the trainee has the necessary work equipment and safety equipment to do the job and work safely. That may be a safety vest, safety glasses, helmet, gloves, and the equipment to do the job. This is a key piece. When one of you have a big responsibility to monitor the training that the trainee receives. So once the project kicks off, trainees approved, he's on the payroll. You have to monitor the trainees on a weekly basis and complete weekly reports detailing the training that they receive. Then at the end of the month, you will complete a training summary report that you will email to me, the program manager, electronically. If you're having some issues with a trainee and the trainee quits or they're going to be terminated, we ask that you reach out to us immediately so we can try to mitigate the circumstances and find out what's going on. However, if they can't and the employee must be terminated, then that is within your right, and you notify us so we can try to find a replacement as soon as possible. Next slide. And I thank you for bearing with me. We're just going to go over time a little bit. The biggest things that I want you to know is that, are you doing this for free? No. As a prime contractor, when you're assigned a trainee and you have trainees working on the job, one of the things at a minimum in the federal regulations, they state that contractors, individuals will be reimbursed 80 cents on every dollar that you spend in an OJT candidate. So you're not just doing this for free. By fulfilling OJT requirements, it enables your business to be able to participate on future DDOT highway aid construction contracts. You know, as long as you're making a concerted effort, you're meeting the goals and requirements. We don't want you to be in a situation where you're not meeting the OJT goals, and we want to be able to report at the end of a project that the contract is in good standing. And another benefit to you, you have a well-trained and diverse workforce to which to recruit from and hire permanently. The one negative impact is we've had this happen in very minor situations, and a contractor does not adhere to meeting their training goals or trying to put forth a good faith effort. They may find themselves in a situation where we have to issue sanctions. That may be in the form of monetary penalties, or it may be in the form of you being terminated from the contract. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And in some cases, we've had contractors that had to pay restitution to trainees because they weren't paying them the proper wage rate. So we want to avoid those things early on. So we ask for frequent communication. We are always available to help you. Next slide. All right, some key documents that we are going to provide to you today that you need to be aware of as a prime contractor. We're going to give you the DDOT OJT program manual, onboarding guide. There's a trainee assessment form that we complete. So every applicant is not automatically applied. We're going to do an interview to make sure they fit the requirements that I spoke about earlier. Once they meet those requirements, we're going to review the training enrollment form. All thumbs up, we approve it, we return it back to you. Then we start the monitoring process where once the trainee starts on the project, we're going to do weekly reporting, monthly reporting, and then also we will come out and do a construction site visit, and we will need you or your trainer or supervisor to be available in case we have any questions. Next slide. All right. I know I went through that kind of quickly, but some key educational resources and websites for you to keep in mind so that you can get more detailed information about the federal OJT program. I've listed those right here in the website for you. So the first website will give you a big overview of the OJT program, what the requirements are, the compliance process. And the second website I provided to you is a general training that you can take through the Federal Highway Administration website free of charge. So with that, next slide. All right. For any of the information that we provided today, we have Ms. Benita Scott's contact information, as well as the contact information for Ms. Andrea Jackson, myself, and Mr. Mayo. So you can reach out to us at any time, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. I know there was a lot of information covered in a rather short period of time, but again, we are always available. Please reach out to us and we'll try to assist you. And like I said, at the end of the chat, at the end of the webinar, we're gonna make this recording available to everyone who participated today, as well as the resources. Thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you so much, Mr. Parham. Again, can we go back one slide? Just one slide with the contact information. I'm going to give you a second to screenshot this so that if you have any questions, you can reach directly to the presenter, and we can get any questions answered. Again, for the federal compliance requirements for a prime perspective and for the on-the-job training requirements from a prime perspective, this is just a brief overview. We will provide this reporting to you, and any additional documents, we'll make that available to you as well. Yes, we will share the PowerPoint as well. All right. Okay, great. So we will share the PowerPoint. You will have all of the links and any documents that you need. All right, next slide. So before you log out, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone again for attending this webinar. We really appreciate your participation. Again, as Mr. Mayo mentioned, we have this infrastructure funding come in. The director has also signed an equity infrastructure pledge. And so we want to make sure that we're providing you with the information and resources to consider becoming a prime for DDOT in the coming years and months. If you have any questions, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and our team. Again, thank you to Nana Bailey Thomas, our chief, also to Benita Scott from the Office of Contracts and Procurement, to Damian and Troy, who are members of my team, for participating in this webinar. Before you log out, when you hit leave, please make sure that you complete our Title VI survey. Again, this is part of our federal requirements. It's a volunteer participant questionnaire. And we would love to have your feedback. Again, thank you for your participation. We look forward to meeting, greeting all of you. We have open office hours coming up on August the 7th. So if you would like information about how to connect with one of my team members, you may reach out to me, andrea.jackson@dc.gov. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate all of you, and we hope to speak with you soon. Have a great day, everyone.
I also provided the link in the chat so they can access the resource documents.
Okay, great, thank you.
Have a good day, everyone. And it was a pleasure.
Have a great day.
You can end the webinar, Danica.